There are some lies in our science books. Taught it for 15 years. Even though I'm not teaching it anymore, I still like the study. It's so many neat things to learn. We're going to cover some of that tonight.
Perception is being managed. We are being steered and guided by a hidden hand.
The whole world has been duped by the media that is not real.
Smart thinking, possible time traveler, smart thinking.
That night, boom, contact memory.
And then, Alex, if you don't agree, you'll be sent to a re-education camp.
Just because I'm old doesn't mean I've lost my touch with the ladies.
A lot of people here tonight felt like they lost. You know why?
Now, experts are suggesting that we're in a golden age of shape-shifting reptilian sightings. Now, why is that?
I was, and still am, a huge conspiracy guy. I literally ran out of new tin hat topics to research.
It was most definitely not capable of melting steel.
Then I would be a crackpot if I thought that was the case.
Welcome to the Hypothetical Institute, a podcast about conspiracies.
My name is Luke.
I'm Salt.
I'm Cam, gentlemen.
Hey,
start your engines. How are we?
Good, mate. How are you?
Good, thanks. I feel like we're coming in very high energy as compared to 1 minute ago when we had a false start and came in with such low energy.
Yeah, but
something in that minute has got us revved up.
Yeah.
I'm always pretty charged up to hit record and get going. But also, just before we started recording, Cam, you mentioned you used to spend little. What did you call it? Little lunch?
Lunch? No, play lunch.
Play lunch.
Recess. The meal eaten at recess. So recess. I didn't call it little lunch. I'm not one of these people. And if you're a listener and you are one of those people, I mean, you know.
Turn it off now. We do not want to hear from you.
Yeah. I was going to say that's fine, but is it? Little lunch.
I think little lunch is great. I love the alliteration. But you said you didn't have time to get your little lunch down, yeah?
Oh, if you like the alliteration, like, would you also call lunchtime large lunch? Little lunch, large lunch?
Yeah, and then the 2 o'clock break would be late lunch.
Who has a 2 o'clock break?
We used to have a 5-minute break at 2 o'clock, and you go like hoon around the playground.
5 minutes,
really?
You just shake it all out. Yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
Communist utopia of New Zealand.
Yeah. Sorry,
Cam. You used to spend your little lunch, your recess, not eating. But what were you doing?
Ghost hunting. I'm sure we've discussed this before.
It's the first I've ever heard of it.
Yeah, this is the first I've ever heard.
My primary school was like a very old, I don't know, I'm not going to say Victorian era, because I'm not a history buff.
Yeah.
I don't know when that is. But you know when they'd like, it's from, you know how the Tartarian people are like, oh yeah, there must have been some other civilization, because look at all these fancy old buildings. And it's just like, oh, they just put a lot more effort into buildings back in the 1800s for some reason. Well, that was my school. I had like a really old school. They had a bell tower.
Oh, yeah, that's cool. Could you... Wait, was that when you rang the bell? Would someone be in the bell tower?
No, the bell tower had just a very long rope down to the prep classroom, so the preps would take it in turn.
Oh, they'd give it a hoof on the... That's pretty good.
Yeah. But then off to the side of this old... So we also had a bunch of like temporary classrooms that had just been chucked in, like a lot of schools in Victoria. But then for some reason there was this old shack that also had to be like 100 years old.
Right.
That was used as our grade 2-5 composite classroom. So they had grade 2 kids and grade 5 kids learning together from the one teacher. A teacher who I'll say at the
3
risk
and 4.
Yeah.
That's a crazy leap.
It is a crazy leap. And I will say, I'm not going to name names, but the teacher teaching the year 2/year 5 class was ill-equipped for that task.
Okay.
Well, everyone is ill-equipped because you've got, 6-year-olds and 10-year-olds?
Yeah.
The 10-year-olds are just going to eat the 6-year-olds.
Yeah. And so I think a lot of the idea was that this little shack was haunted. And I think a lot of that idea came from the fact that you had 10-year-olds who had access to a pool of gullible 6-year-olds. And so would just tell them shit. Like, did you hear about the ghost that was seen, the glowing red eyes that you can see in the classroom at night? No one ever questioning, these 6/possibly 7-year-olds, never questioning why the 10/11-year-olds were singing in the classroom at night, which is ridiculous because nobody is at school at night. We're all at home.
Mm.
Anyway, we spent a lot of time working out how to break into the classroom and do seances and things to get to the bottom of the ghost. And I think in the end, we concluded that we were being fucked with by grade 5 kids.
Did you use any equipment to look for the ghosts?
No, we didn't have access to advanced things like a broken radio. Like today's ghost hunters had. Yeah.
Well, yeah, great. It's a shame that you didn't find a ghost. I'm assuming the ghost still roams the halls of that school.
Yeah, the ghost of some poorly educated year 5 who was being taught grade 3 stuff.
Yeah. He's starting to learn physics when he needed to be learning the colour blue.
Painting.
You may have a distorted view of grade 5 with the chasm of 30-something years between you and it, Robbo.
Yeah, that's probably fair. Done a lot of things to my memory since then, Cam. A lot of things. Hey, now that we're back it's been a while. Apologies to everyone.
Yeah.
But we're going to be back with a pretty old school banger, really. In fact, it's so much of a banger, we've already recorded 2 hours of it, which I think is like episode 34. So before listening to this one, if you haven't listened to that one, double check that I got the right episode, then go listen to that.
Yeah.
Alternatively, otherwise it's going to make no sense and not link up at all.
Go find the JFK episode. Well, I don't know. Have we listened? You listened to it, Luke. Did anyone else go back and listen to what we said about Kennedy before?
Are you asking the listeners or me?
I'm asking you, Salty. You're the only one.
This isn't Blue's Clues.
Okay, I was going for like a panto vibe.
Yeah.
Did anyone else listen?
Has anyone else listened?
Right behind you.
That's right, kids. We've talked about this before. No, I didn't. I haven't. I'm only just getting over like being really immensely jet lagged, so I haven't been doing much of anything.
Yeah, that wouldn't have helped you. Wouldn't help you go to sleep because that episode is full of good times and lols.
Oh, yeah.
Except for JFK, I guess, because basically the re-release of the JFK files, or unredacted files, 2,000 new documents have been blasted into the public discourse again, and everyone's excited about JFK again.
It was episode 34. I can confirm.
Good job.
These files, not to put a downer on the episode, but they're shit house.
Well, I mean, the files are fine. What's wrong with the files?
Well, okay, here's what's wrong with the files. The files are not indexed. They're not searchable.
Right.
They've just, I think there were 2,000, there were more than 2,000 files that were yet to be released, that had been like ordered to be released in a previous order. And they've just, some of them still haven't been released. So the whole idea was, all right, here's the rest of them, have at it. But they still haven't released them all. But there's like nothing in the file names that suggests what they are. So there's stuff that was held over from previous releases that's like from the 60s and the 70s, which is great. Then there's stuff from like 1996. I've been looking at the files at random in the hopes that I'll come across the gem that's like, by the way, it was us, the CIA. There was one file where it was like this guy's requested to have his CompuServe email account refreshed.
Right.
Should we do it? It's like from June 1996. So sometime after the assassination, sometime after the church committee, this guy, he works on like an Air Force base or something. He says, can I have my email back? And they're like, there's just one note in it, which is the reason why it's in the Kennedy files, which is just FYI, this guy has said that he thinks that N.W. Bolton is behind the Kennedy assassination. So something to think about when you want to look at whether we give him his email back.
Yeah.
And N.W. Bolton is CIA code for the CIA. As I discovered, which is, I will say, not a very good code.
Right.
Because I came across all sorts of references to N.W. Bolton in these files. And it's like, you're obviously talking about the CIA. So I don't know how long the KGB was supposed to take to crack this one.
Mm-hmm. Cam, did you have a read of the files?
Yes, I've read a few more. It's funny, there's ones where I think what's happened, and the reason why they're so sort of shoddily released, is that maybe people at the National Archives in the United States don't like Donald Trump very much. Because didn't he famously do bad archive things?
Well,
like
yeah,
he held on to all of those documents.
Also, all those documents, it's my understanding that they were all taken off him, but then they just shipped them all back to him, and they're all just back at Mar-a-Lago.
But he'd been like keeping them in a bathroom at Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah, he was stashing them everywhere.
So if you're like an archivist, is that not the ultimate insult to a document? To just stick it in the dunnies?
Especially of Donald Trump's dummies.
Yeah. So I think the archives people don't like Donald Trump. So when he has said, release the rest of the JFK files, they've said, fine, here they all are. Exactly what was asked for. The documents are released. That's it. Because it's a very different release to previous releases where there's been a bit more rhyme and reason to it. But also you look at some of these documents and the document has the reason why it wasn't released in the previous releases.
Right.
And on some of them, the reason given is there are people's social security numbers in this document. And so we're not releasing it because that's highly personal information. It's like, the equivalent of your tax file number, which is, it's one of those things where it's the most secret piece of information about yourself. And it's also the one that you just give to random businesses.
Yeah.
Like when you get a job somewhere or when you're applying for a dodgy car loan, you have to give it to them. But otherwise, it's the most secret piece of information you have. Don't give it to anyone. But yeah, these people that worked on like the church committee and different espionage related things, it just has their social security numbers, which is apparently a good reason not to release them.
Why are their social security numbers on them?
Because it's got like people's resumes from
yeah, right.
This person's going to be doing secretarial work for the church committee into assassinations. Here's their resume. Here's their social security number. They've done like background checks on everyone involved in all these things.
Yeah, right.
And so now they've just released them as is.
Right.
And so all these people have to be these like elderly spies are like, am I going to get my identity stolen?
I guess, I don't know if there's a Doge joke in there somewhere with what they're just taking social security numbers. Like, it doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
they're just the fire hose of information that's just going to be spread on the dark web about Americans now is it's all over with.
It doesn't really matter for these guys.
Yeah. So in between us recording last time, there's in 2017. That was when the previous tranche of documents came out, and then we recorded that time, and I think we kind of concluded that, well, at least I concluded that, in my view, it's just Lee Harvey Oswald was a guy who had a lot of mental health issues and shot the president.
Is that what I concluded? Did you listen to it, right?
Yeah, I think I just made everyone agree with me.
Don't trick me and say that I thought something else. I feel like that there was a...
What do you think now then, Cam? And Salty, the same question for you.
Based on this new tranche of documents?
Just like everything you know now and everything you've seen since, what do you think of the old... Do you think the CIA did it, or do you think the official story is the right one?
I think that the fact that the CIA had to ask, was this us? That's that's what I always come back to. That when it happened, they were like, let's just check whether this was us.
Did we do this one?
Well, there is that. I think it's Noam Chomsky has a quote that's like, "We know that the CIA killed a lot of people, and the inference is we know who they killed, and JFK isn't one of them because we know that they did the other ones for sure." It's pretty obvious when they do something, or they weren't good at keeping secrets. I guess all the new documents haven't been dug through, but nothing. Certainly, I don't think there's anything in there revealing. I think there's a lot of people that are like, we're waiting on the note that says, FYI, we're just going to knock Kennedy off this weekend.
Yeah, it's tomorrow.
Yeah.
Well, so I have seen that there's one of the new sort of documents is from some informant, maybe a defector from Russia, and sort of talking a lot about having heard that Kennedy was going to, that Oswald was going to do this. And so the idea is that it was known to at least one other person that he was going to do this beforehand, which does suggest that there was a conspiracy. Because if he was just acting completely alone, no one else would know about it. But the problem is there's no memo from November before November 21, 1963, if that is the day, saying there's a guy called Lee Harvey Oswald and he's going to knock off the president. It's all months or years afterwards that this guy, who also seems to be a crooked, pops up and is like, I've heard that Lee Harvey Oswald was planning on killing the president. Because I think that if you go through all of the documents that were released previously, there was a fair bit of crookedness, psychics and things coming out of the woodwork, and people being like, yeah, I am Lee Harvey Oswald.
Also, this kind of thing, especially around that time, but also, I guess, forever and ever, attracts people that are going to, come up with their own theories, or even just around the CIA. There's a few mentally unwell people that get attracted to that world, right? Get sucked into the cloak and dagger, and as a result, the CIA ends up watching them, and my kind of theory, and I guess everything that I've ever looked up about this suggests that Lee Harvey Oswald was one of those people that, just irritated the CIA enough that they had to keep an eye on him. Because there's heaps of CIA connections around him, but he was a Marine that I think might have got caught up in MK Ultra a little bit,
and he did defect.
And then he popped over to Russia and went, "Oh, I'm actually defecting." There is some loose evidence around that he was a double agent, and they asked him to do it, but a lot of that evidence relies on him telling people that he was going to go and be a double agent. Which, it's not good spycraft to just tell people you're going to do that.
No, it's shocking tradecraft.
And then he didn't really like it there, and then he either tried to commit suicide, or if you listen to people that think he is a patsy, he faked a suicide so they'd keep him in Russia. I'm not sure which is which. They put him into Belarus, which is still part of the Soviet Union, in a car factory. Then he married a Belarusian lady, and then popped back over to the US. And then, obviously, the CIA took a lot of interest in him at that point.
Right.
And that's kind of used as a lot of evidence for people saying, oh, here's old Lee Harvey, all the CIA were watching him. It's like, yeah, because he was a Marine that defected to Russia in the Cold War. Of course they were keeping an eye on him. The thing that got me, I listened to, there's been a Rob Reiner podcast in the last, I think it was 2023, 2024. Rob Reiner, the Spinal Tap guy.
Yeah.
What else has he done? He's done a few things, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Did he direct A Few Good Men?
I'm sure he's directed heaps of good men, mate.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, all the... Yeah, he directed that. But yeah, he did a podcast, and it's a little bit frustrating. There's so much information out there about this, and it's all who shot JFK, who did it, and none of it's like, oh, it was Lee Harvey Oswald, here's the reasons. And this kind of new tranche of documents has just kind of buoyed that on again. This is going to be the real truth. But listening to this podcast of Rob Reiner's, he basically is just all in that it was a CIA conspiracy and doesn't entertain any part of that Lee Harvey Oswald just did it. But as a result, they make giant leaps, and I think everyone in the conspiracy world does. But the kind of premise of it is Lee Harvey Oswald said he was a patsy when he was arrested. I'm a patsy, and the kind of the evidence that shows is no one would ever say that. Like, if you shot the president, you'd go yeah, I did it because I, free Cuba or whatever. So I'm a patsy. But this guy was really mentally unwell. He's not making rational statements at that point. I don't think that's true. But he concludes this podcast, the final episode, I listened to it, and he concluded that there was 4 shooters.
Right.
All stationed. There was one at the grassy knoll, one at a bridge somewhere. There was Lee Harvey Oswald, and there was someone else. And potentially they didn't know that they were all there at the same time.
Right.
One of them worked for the mob. One was a CIA guy. One was Lee Harvey. And they all just took their pot shots and buggered off. Which is an interesting theory. But if I was the CIA and I wanted to kill the president, I wouldn't get 4 people in public with guns to all just take pot shots.
Hope one of them does it.
Yeah. And I guess the other part is the whole, Jack Ruby went and shot, they use this in the podcast as well. Jack Ruby went and shot Lee Harvey, to cover it up, because Jack Ruby had connections to the mob and potentially connections to the people that killed him or set Lee Harvey up. And so, for people that don't know, Jack Ruby went and shot him on live TV as he was being taken into the courthouse. But again, that's not a great way to tie up a loose end.
No, that's worse tradecraft than Lee Harvey Oswald's tradecraft. Just Epstein him.
Well, Epstein him. Or if you want to pin it on someone, just say to one of the coppers, "Hey, I work at the CIA. Just go shoot him in his cell because he shot the president." And the cop would go, "Yeah, okay, of course."
Yeah, or you could just make it look like they didn't have cameras that they had to have broken.
Yeah,
they could just go in and kill him.
Yeah. You could say that with you could say that with just killing JFK as well. They didn't need this whole big covert plot to get 4 different people, 4 different groups on board to kill him, when, I don't know, surely that'd be better than that, right?
Yeah. Unless they wanted to, how when they have a firing squad, it's they have 5 guys with guns and one of them has a blank, so that none of them really they can all kind of somewhat feel like maybe they didn't do it. And the CIA was if we just get 5 different randos to try and do it, then we don't actually know who really did it. So they can't ever say that we knew. And then we get to just even if they put us on a lie detector test, we don't know who did it.
Plausible deniability.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. We're innovating here on the Hypothetical Institute.
Yeah. I don't know.
You know the saying, right? You throw enough shit at the wall, something's going to stick.
Yeah.
Throw enough bullets at JFK, one of them's going to hit him. Couple, maybe.
Another thing that's come to light in recent years, this I think was 10 years ago or so, is one of the bullets appeared on the stretcher that I think the governor was on. And they're like, how did this bullet appear on the stretcher? It's in, somewhat good condition. And they found it at the hospital, and they couldn't find it in the car or anything. It turns out a Secret Service agent just picked it up. He saw it on the seat, and he's like, "Oh, that looks like it'll be relevant evidence." So he just popped it in his pocket. And then when they were putting people on the stretcher, he's like, "Oh, I better better just pop it there.
Let's just put this little bullet there for the ride.
And then like he has come out and I think he wrote a book or did some interviews a decade ago and said,
Don't write a book about the time that you put a bullet in your pocket.
Well, but he's being held up as like, oh, this is proof of the conspiracy because that bullet, couldn't have been in the back seat. So like he's actually a hero for admitting this happened, and like he was interviewed on this podcast or they played audio. It's like, yeah, see, this proves our point. It's like this guy's an unreliable narrator. He just picked up some murder evidence. He just popped it in his pocket. And that's like an evidence that this is, a big conspiracy. The other thing that they talked a lot about on this podcast was, so the whole bullet, how many shots were fired off and the magic bullet and all that. And one of the pieces of evidence is the bullet hole in his jacket is quite low, where it entered his jacket, and then that same bullet burst through the front of his neck.
Right.
And the kind of conspiracy there is, well, how did it hit so far in his back and then burst through his neck? But like anyone that's ever worn a suit jacket can attest that if you're wearing a suit jacket in a car, it gets bunchy.
Shit's riding up.
Yeah, you're getting real bunchy, and you can see in the Zapruder film he kind of leans forward as well after I think the first bullet, and then his jacket's bunched up, and there is other footage that's come out in the last few years or in the last 20 years or so that shows his jacket really bunchy from a different angle, but it's still being used as this is evidence that there's got to be more than the 3 shots said because we don't understand a bunchy coat, which is pretty frustrating. And I was the whole podcast, this Rob Reiner one, he was making a lot of leaps of like, he just almost Alex Jones style, where he'd sort of say half a piece of evidence, and the next episode he would say, "Oh, that was complete evidence that happened."
Right.
And it was quite frustrating because the person interviewing was a journalist or was part of the podcast, and I think it's won some awards. But yeah, it seemed to be really like, we've got a theory and we're just going to go fully hard on this theory. There was a couple of things around autopsy photos that once you look it up, it's all completely like they're kind of misrepresenting what's happened, and they've just picked out the evidence that supports their claim when there's tons of evidence to just show that Oswald did it.
Right.
A little bit disappointed.
Slight opposite of a shoey. I just went to see if the menswear guy had commented on JFK in his bunchy suit.
Yep.
Could not find any evidence of that, but he has addressed the myth that JFK killed the hat industry when he didn't wear a hat at his inauguration.
Right.
So for people unfamiliar, Derek Guy, dyeworkwear.com, is who Cam's talking about. A very, very entertaining menswear social media figure. Sorry, Cam. How did he allegedly kill the hat?
So the myth is that JFK killed the hat industry when he didn't wear a hat to his inauguration.
Right.
I think hats were the done thing at the time. JFK was like, no, have a look at me bonce. And the men of America looked at him being sworn in and said, yeah, let's look at our bonces.
Yeah.
No more hats. And so the hat industry died. And I have heard the theory that the hat industry was behind the assassination to get back at him for that.
Whew.
But Derek Guy, the menswear guy, says actually JFK did wear a hat to his inauguration. He wore hats all around town. It's just hats just happen to go out of fashion. Because people wanted to people wanted to show off their bonces.
Yeah. Thanks, Derek Guy, menswear guy. Definitely worth. Is he still on X, the Everything app? Formerly Twitter.
He is. Is he still active? Yeah, he is.
Yeah. So I don't know if he's posting on Blue Sky, but definitely worth reading some of his takedowns of people that. And I think a couple of people have tried to diss him, and he's just destroyed them based on their clothes.
Yeah,
it's quite entertaining.
Hey,
speaking. Oh, go.
Here's another shoey. Just while we're on the topic of X, the Everything app, I logged in for the first time in some weeks today because I got a message from a guy I interviewed about black metal once.
Right.
Hey, sorry to bother, but I made a big mistake. I said, what's up? They said, I reported your account because someone pretended to be you. He sent me a link because he wants to play Fortnite, but turns out to be a scam link. Can you help me contact the support on Discord? Help me explain to them that it was a mistake, the one that has been mentioned on the ticket. Send a support friend request to them. Mikhail's official X is the support tag on Discord. And so I said to them, has this been working? Like, this is the worst possible guy that you could do this with, the black metal politics guy. Like, anyone who follows this guy is like not going to be believing this story about Fortnite and Discord. And they're like, don't blame me when your account is banned. It's up to you now. They wouldn't. I said, can we have a human conversation? And they wouldn't. Scammers won't talk to me. It continues to frustrate.
Cam, I feel like that entire thing you just said then was in a different language.
I kind of had the gist of it.
He just wants to take over my Twitter account, which is fine. Go ahead.
Is it him or has he been hacked?
He's been hacked.
Right, gotcha.
But it's like, I just want to talk about it with the hacker. And it's the same when they call me on the phone. I said, can we talk about this? And they hang up on me.
Yeah.
I've had a couple of long conversations with them, but I've never really, I guess I've always just kind of strung them along.
I want to know if they've seen The Beekeeper and what they thought about it.
Right.
Is it a point of discussion in the office?
Yeah. Because it should be. If someone made a movie about someone killing people from my specific job, that's all we'd be talking about.
I'm guessing you've seen The Beekeeper. Have you seen The Beekeeper, Salty?
I haven't, no.
It's really good.
I remember when it came out, I saw the trailer and I was like, yeah, it looks pretty good Jason Statham piece.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Does he have? Do they make him crowbar into an American accent in it, or does he talk in his normal accent?
I think he tries to talk in an American accent. No, he tries to talk in an American accent, and then, but no, because he's so bad, there is a plot point that he like spent some time in the UK, and that's why. That's why.
What does it matter? Why do they do that? He's so bad at American accents. Why not just let him talk in his normal accent?
It's so funny they crowbarred in a plot point around that when there really isn't any other plot points.
Yeah,
like it's so devoid of plot. They had to squeeze that one in.
I think he has to be. The idea is that he has to be American because he's performing this secret fascist role within the US government that sort of has to be an American. But they could have just made it a fascist world government thing.
Yeah, they could have done anything. Just let him talk in his normal fucking accent, you know?
People want my views on The Beekeeper. They're available on other podcasts.
Can I just do another showy while we're talking about Rob Reiner? Rob Reiner also directed When Harry Met Sally.
Oh, yeah.
Which has a famous scene in it where Meg Ryan fakes an orgasm in Katz's Deli in New York.
Oh, yeah.
I recently ate a sandwich in Katz's Deli in New York.
And did you fake an orgasm?
Didn't have to fake it, mate. That was a bloody good sandwich.
How often do you think people do the orgasm?
Well, I didn't spot it when I was in there, but there's apparently a sign hanging over that table.
Saying don't do it?
Saying, no, this is where it happened.
Oh, okay.
Like, this is where it happened. And like I when I was in there, I forgot about it until I was just about to leave, and I kind of scanned my eyes around to try and see it, but I couldn't find it. But yeah.
They had a competition in 2019 to have a fake orgasm contest. You can see the videos of that online.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm sure there's lots of videos of that online, mate.
Speaking of fake things and JFK, just getting this podcast back on track.
Yep.
Russell Brand. You guys remember this guy, Russell Brand?
Yeah, kind of. Funnyman.
Get him to the Greek, right?
Get him to the Greek.
Yeah.
I don't think he's done a lot else since then other than just cooking his mush.
Yeah.
Man, he's cooked these days. I guess he probably always was. You know, he tweeted out when they got released a screenshot from the JFK files and that it was committed by not Lee Harvey Oswald, but British actress Penelope Keith.
Oh.
So he tweeted out evidence of that. So Penelope Keith, is it The Good Life she
Good
was
Life,
in?
yeah.
Yeah. She's been in a lot of things. I think is she dead now?
I don't know.
No, she's still alive. 84. Good on her. Yeah, Good Life. That was a great show. I used to watch it. It was like afternoon TV and when I was a kid. So he tweeted and then deleted that he thought it was Penelope Keith. Russell Brand.
You know
He went like full crazy hippie, right? He went a bit Pete Evans.
Yeah, and now he's full fundamentalist Christian, but still in that a little bit hippie.
Okay. Yeah, he embraced fundamentalist Christianity when it became clear that a whole bunch of people were going to come forward with sexual assault allegations.
That's right.
And he needed a group of people who could see past that. And there's no better cohort than fundamentalist Christians for that sort of thing. Robbo, you know how Russell Brand cooked his brain? Does he still do all the baby talk stuff? You know, like the Bookie Wookie?
Oh. Yeah, I think he's still in that.
He's like, it's the Jewy Wooies.
Yeah, like his... I have only ever listened to or watched his podcast, his Potty Waddy, a couple of times, but it's really a lot. Like he's really quick and he's just talking and it's like this real stream of consciousness, but he's just peppering it with like all the buzzwords of conspiracy stuff. So I think maybe just if I'm thinking of it in my memory, he's definitely doing some rapidy wappity talky walkie.
Very obnoxious.
It's not really. It's one of those things that's just not engaging. Like, I can see how someone can get into a Rogan. You're a youth, even in Andrew Tate. Some of the stuff that you can see what people might find appealing about it. But someone like a Russell Brand, he's just a dork. And he's I don't know what the appeal is there. I don't know what Katy Perry ever saw in him. I just realised I had a couple of notes from when I was listening to our previous episode. It was recorded in 2017, and we said at one point, let's not date this podcast by talking about Donald Trump. And we also said, I think, Cam, you said that somewhat tongue-in-cheek, can you believe the crazy thing Donald Trump did today by way of dating the podcast? And it turns out, 8 years later, still relevant.
Yep. And what's this? I said in 3 years there'll be a global pandemic. You heard it here first.
Invest in N95 masks and mRNA vaccines.
Yep.
Buy Zoom stock now. It's crazy that Zoom hasn't really capitalized on the pandemic.
Yeah, buy Zoom stock, but don't expect it to do much.
No. The only other thing I did with this episode this week is I went and checked out some remote viewing people to see what they were saying about the JFK assassination.
They should know, or they shouldn't have needed any files to be released. Surely they could have just zoomed in.
Yeah, and I'm kind of, certainly the last few episodes we did about solid conspiracies, I've kind of realized that remote viewing is kind of one of the last bastions of, a little bit cooked corner of the internet that hasn't become mainstream.
Right.
Even though some of them have like massive audiences. But I found two. I found a few, but none of them were really that interesting. One was a remote viewing and talking about the Mandela effect. And apparently they remote viewed and saw that there was only 4 people in the car at the time that he was shot. But all the videos show there was 6 people. And so it means the footage has been changed in our timeline. Which is, I don't know, it's combining a few different things there. Then I looked at Dick Dick Algeire's amazing blind remote viewing. And he blacked out while doing a technique he likes to call edging. So he edged himself to the point of blackout.
I don't like that.
No.
What did he see while he was edging?
He just saw a building. He just saw like some buildings and some grass. And it turns out it was the grassy knoll, and he realized it after the fact or something. Wasn't really that compelling. Remember I found that remote viewer that like was chatting to aliens and they were giving her tips on conspiracy stuff?
Yeah.
None of that popped up.
Yeah, well, surely the aliens have got an idea of who done it.
Well, yeah, I guess I can't remember who that lady was, and she certainly didn't come up when I was looking for it. So
yeah, why are the Pleiadians holding out on us?
I mean, they're probably behind the whole thing.
Hey, just a note, if you bought Zoom stock in February 2020, it is worth less today.
Wow.
If you'd then sold it in October of 2020, you would have made a lot of money.
Yeah.
But they definitely didn't hang on to that bag.
It's crazy how both Skype, them owned by Microsoft, fumbled the bag at the start of the pandemic because Skype was like
Skype, which was the word for having a call on the internet.
Yeah, and then suddenly somehow it became Zoom, and now both don't exist. Well, they both exist. No, Skype doesn't exist anymore. They got sold to Microsoft, and everyone hates Microsoft Teams.
Well, yeah, it's like they're like, what if we subsumed the thing that is the word for an online call into a universally loathed product?
It's like buying Jeep and then being like, let's stop that and then call them Teslas. And yeah, Zoom sucks. Who does video calling anymore? Is it just through whatever messaging app you've got?
I think so. Right. Everyone get on Discord, and then everyone just gets on a video call.
Oh, people do video calls in Discord?
Yeah.
Huh. I mean, I do too because I'm got friends all over.
Yeah. I only use Discord to contact scammers to save my account from being suspended.
Yeah, I think maybe just like WhatsApp or the Facebook one, Messenger.
Yeah.
I'm getting increasingly less comfortable using all those, so I'm going to have to ditch them too. Anyway.
That's
the current update of JFK for me.
Yeah.
Do you guys have anything else?
No, not really.
I went down a little rabbit hole because I found one really detailed file, which was, I think, James Jesus Angleton, who was chief of counterintelligence for the CIA.
Yeah, so he was involved with Lee Harvey. I think he was reading his mail or was instructing his people to read Lee Harvey Oswald's mail for a bit.
Right. Yeah, so he was like a mole hunter. He was convinced that the KGB had infiltrated the CIA, which he was correct about. There was a guy in the CIA who was like a double agent with the KGB, which I believe was Aldrich Ames. But he also thought that there was like other guys who were in the CIA, and like heaps of people's careers in the CIA were ruined because they were suspected for whatever reason of being a mole. And a bunch of them were compensated later. And it's funny because you're sort of reading it and feeling kind of bad for them. It's like, oh, they were not doing a great job, right? But then I discovered, as well as this KGB having a mole in the CIA, they had a mole in the FBI. And there was heaps of stuff that they got from this guy in the FBI that they just assumed they'd gotten from the CIA guy. And he kept on moling until like 2001 for the Russians.
Right.
He was this guy called Robert Hansen. And he was like just a dude who wanted to make some extra cash. So he started selling secrets to the KGB, who didn't like know who he was, which seems a little slack of them to not like track him down. But he would just like every now and then he would put a little bit of sticky tape on a road sign and to let them know, come and pick up the latest tranche of documents that I've sent through. And they'd go and pick it up and they'd be like, this is great. But then when he eventually gets caught, like it was they wanted to execute him for treason. And he managed to talk them down to like 20 life sentences. But like they killed a whole bunch of American spies within the KGB based on his intelligence. And it's like, that's really bad, but you guys were going to kill him for being a double agent as well. So it's like we're all on the same level.
The more I learn about that world, especially in that era, but I guess probably continuing now, is a lot of energy goes into making it more complicated than it needs to be.
Yeah.
And then like chasing everyone's tails around.
Well, it seemed like the belief that there was a mole, which there was, but it sort of sent him a little bit off the deep end, Angleton. This guy, Robert Hansen, was not a believer in making things more complicated. So, like, when the Soviet Union fell, he stopped giving them information. And then, like, a year later, I think he was out of money. So he went to reconnect with the Russians and, like, approached this Russian guy in the car park at the Russian embassy to say, oh, by the way, I'm a disaffected FBI agent. I want to sell you American secrets. And the Russian agent reported him to the FBI because he's like, this is obviously a setup. They want to test like whether I'm going to take this stuff and then they're going to get me. So he reported him. They still didn't catch him for another 10 years.
Yeah, right.
Don't be selling secrets to the Soviets in 2001.
Yeah.
Like, you got to leave it. That's Cold War stuff.
Well, I mean, 2001, there's a lot of stuff happening in the globe.
If you're the Russians, you have to say, you need to stop selling secrets to us. The Cold War's over.
I mean, they're still, well, up until this presidency, they were still at odds.
Yeah.
They still got secrets to keep from each other, Cam.
Anyway, it was very distracting because it was quite a big file. But it's like, I was like, oh, this is juicy stuff. And then I just look at his Wikipedia, which just had all of the same information.
Right. That's the end of JFK.
Yeah, it's all over. But there's still documents to be released.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that
I will go and I'll go.
Well, I'm sure that they'll just end up releasing them at some point. But maybe the last couple of documents are the ones where they're like, memo, it's tomorrow.
Yeah.
But it's
FYI.
I feel like this has been very similar to the Epstein files they released, which was another little storm in a teacup in Trump world where they made a big deal about how they were releasing all of these files, and it was all stuff everybody already had access to.
But he chose to give it to like the 6 most cooked people he could find.
Yeah.
Including Mike Cernovich, who was involved in silencing Epstein witnesses on behalf of, I think, Peter Thiel or someone. Like, he was directly involved in Epstein shit once upon a time. And now he's like, oh, we gotta, why was everyone hiding these Epstein files? Like, I don't know, man. You probably got more access than anyone.
Yeah.
But, like, things like that don't matter in the world anymore. That, like, people directly involved and actual sexual predators can just be like, oh, no, I'm actually against sexual predators and I'm not involved. And everyone's like, oh, well, you seem like you're on the up and up. Let's put you in the White House. So we concluded, well, at least my conclusion, the last one, that Lee Harvey Oswald did it, and all the cover-up is just the FBI and the CIA scrambling to cover their asses.
Yeah.
Because he was very much on their radar to the point where I think he just kind of annoyed them enough that they just like, can you stop and by? Like, we don't need to keep seeing you. And then he just went and murked the president.
Yep. Which maybe they should have paid a little tiny bit more attention to him.
I guess the other we talked about, how to cover it up. They knew where he was going to be when he pulled the trigger. They could have just got him when he ran out the door before he got to the cinema. They also...
Yeah, some cop could have just shot him.
Yeah. Or just get a CIA person dressed as a cop to shoot him.
Or, I don't know, you've been to America, right, Salty?
Like, very recently, yeah.
Yeah, so maybe you can speak to this, because this is just what I've sort of been picking up from television and movies and things. Like, people in America have guns and stuff, right?
Yeah.
So potentially some random person on the street could have just shot him.
Potentially. It was in Texas, right?
Yeah.
Texas, where I think they famously have open carry laws.
Might be a few
you just
people
walk around with a gun.
there might be people with guns in Texas. We'll have to fact check that one. There
Yeah.
could have been people around with guns
Yeah.
who, seeing a guy running from the building just after the president was shot, could have just shot that guy. You didn't need to do a whole thing where, like, we need to kill him publicly in jail
Yeah.
on the cameras.
We have to get someone, and their story is going to be that they loved Jackie Onassis so much that they wanted to not put her through the ordeal of a trial, so they went and shot Lee Harvey Oswald.
Yeah.
That's like you'd never come up with that cover story in a like a million CIA monkeys on a million typewriters would never come up with that stupid cover story because it's stupid.
I don't know. CIA monkeys, they've probably got some sort of good drugs.
Dose to the gills on that.
Yeah.
That MK Ultra acid.
Unless it's so crazy that
maybe the number of very complex CIA conspiracies that have involved getting a president shot on the head is, there's been a few of them, I guess, versus the number of mentally unwell people who have shot someone in the head in America. My Google just came on when I said that.
Oh.
I deactivated this AI Google thing ages ago and it keeps coming back.
Mate. What did you just say? Did you say something about shooting a president in the head and your phone went, huh? Pardon?
Yeah, absolutely.
What was that, sorry?
What?
The way to do it is this conspiracy I'm laying out right now. But the number of mentally unwell people that shoot people in the head in America, like, why is it so implausible that this one's different? So I listened to the Rob Reiner podcast, which apparently that lays out all the evidence, and it did not swing me. So I think I'm never gonna, unless that note is released. FYI, we're murking him tomorrow.
Signed the CIA.
Yeah, signed Johnny CIA,
signed
head of the CIA.
Signed N.W. Bolton.
Yeah.
Shh, it's us, N.W. Bolton.
Hey, I've got a couple of news things as well before we wrap up.
Okay. Give us the news.
One thing.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Yep.
So, Joe Rogan did a whole Pizzagate episode recently,
right?
Which is just outrageous, and they just retweeted all the old Pizzagate stuff that was like just so stupid. It was just blowing his mind. And then he did some Shroud of Turin gear recently as well. A guest talked about the Shroud of Turin and how that's definitely accurate. And it's wild to me that Rogan's just gone back to just the most basic conspiracies.
Yeah.
It's wild to me that Pizzagate's still around, to be honest.
Speaking of that, when I was in the US just recently, as in a couple of weeks ago, I visited and ate pizza at Comet Ping Pong Pizza Place in Washington, D.C.
Whoa, look at that. How was the pizza?
Fucking great. For like a restaurant that's just a massive cover,
yeah,
they make a great pizza.
They're throwing out a good slice, eh?
It was really good. Yeah.
Was it busy there?
Go ahead.
Was it busy?
It was reasonably busy, yeah. A lot of families, a lot of business going through there.
Yep.
Well, that's what you want with a cover location. You want to make it incredibly attractive.
Yeah.
Yep.
To get as many people through the doors as you can.
Yeah.
It was odd being in there and being like, some dude ran in here with a machine gun, right? And was like, wanted to see the basement.
So one of the big evidences for Pizzagate, and I'm sure this was on the Rogan podcast, was that someone went and it wasn't a machine gun, I think it was a rifle,
right? And
shot into a closed door. He's screaming about the basement, and he shot into a closet or something that had a computer in it,
right?
And he just hit the computer. In the Pizzagate world, that shot hit the hard drive that then lost all the secret files that they had.
Oh, no.
And they're like, oh, such a coincidence that shot just happened to hit that hard drive with the secret files that we all wanted.
Right.
And like, no, it was just just hit a computer case. It didn't break the computer. It's just nothing.
That guy died the other day too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in a shootout with the police.
Jesus. All right, so let me pivot this into a fun giveaway for our Patreon listeners.
Oh yeah.
here's a point to cut, right? Cut here if this is a dumb idea. If not, leave it in. But cut that bit out where I just said that. People who are on our Patreon get access to our Discord as part of their membership. And I know some people are on there. Some people say hi now and then. I thought the way to give this away would be the first person who listens to the podcast on Patreon who wants a trucker cap from Planet fucking Comet Ping Pong Pizza in Washington, D.C. Get on the Discord, get into the Ask Salt channel, and just say, hey, Salt, give me that fucking hat.
Do they have to swear?
It's up to them. They can choose.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's good.
So
some people, some people might not like.
Yeah. If you're a Patreon listener,
cool.
if you're a Patreon listener, sorry, go ahead.
Is that open to hosts?
No.
No.
Oh, okay.
I mean, if one of you guys want it, we can just fuck the listeners and I'll just give it to one of you guys. But yeah, if you're on Patreon and you're listening to this and you're not on the Discord, join the Discord, jump into the Ask Salt channel, say, give me the hat, and I'll DM you and get your address and I'll send you this hat.
So give me the hat, you dog.
Yeah.
I would love to know if their merch sales have increased as a result of this.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because I never thought about getting Comet Ping Pong merch, but now I'd really like some.
They've got t-shirts. They've got a couple of different types of hat. So yeah, I would have bought a couple more things, but it was fucking expensive.
Really?
It was like US dollars. It was like $40 for a trucker cap.
Yeah, right.
It's like $70, $80.
Yeah, Americans at the brewery quite often go, oh, that's expensive, when I tell them the cost of our merch.
Right. How much would you sell a hat for?
A hat's $35.
Right.
Fully embroidered.
Yep.
But also $35 US is like NZD to USD.
$50.
$20 USD.
Oh, USD, yeah.
Yeah, so that's a bargain.
Yeah, I'm assuming that they're just maximizing on the notoriety of the place, right? By cranking the price up on the merch. Yeah, got it here. I'll post a photo of it in the Discord as well for people to see.
Just looking at their website, there's a nice T-shirt there, nice neon violet coloured T-shirt, which I fuck with pretty hard. Nice long sleeve top, which I quite like too. Yeah,
should have put in an order.
Well, I've got a friend that's in Washington, D.C. at the moment. They moved there recently. They got there on January 6th. And they were not really enthused about getting there on January 6th. But
yeah, I arrived like a couple of days after the inauguration. I was like, how fucking weird is this going to be?
Yeah.
That was fine.
Yeah, good one, Salty. That's I'm excited to see that hat go out to someone.
And just another little follow-up on my trip. Listeners might remember when we were reading the Weekly World News, we found a bunch of ads that were about sending out UFO propaganda material for people who would send a money order for like $15 to this address in New York City. Remember that? It was one of the
ads.
I
do. I remember it well.
And the same address was linked to a whole bunch of those different ads. When I was in New York City, I took a little wander down to that address, and the building's covered in scaffolding right now. So I'm assuming that the money in UFO propaganda is pretty good. They're doing some refurbs. And yeah, I did try and knock and see if they would let me in. I tried a secret knock, but the bakery downstairs just asked me to leave. So.
Oh,
is that true?
No.
That's a shame.
I mean, I should have said yes, but
did you get anything at the bakery?
No.
Yeah.
It's just nearby. I was nearby. It was right near the Empire State Building. I was nearby, and I was like, I'm just going to pop around the corner there and have a look at that building.
Did you go up to the top of the Empire State Building?
Nah.
Oh.
Nah. Tourist trap shit, mate.
Yeah, right.
I did the real New York.
That's probably one of those things where if you go up the top of it, you don't actually get to look at it anymore.
Yeah. Plus, the best building in New York is the Chrysler Building.
Is it?
Yeah. Chrysler Building's beautiful, mate.
Couple more news things.
Yeah. Did we even have one news thing?
Yeah, Bad Joe Rogan doing Pizzagate gear.
Yeah, Pizzagate.
All right. Next bit.
And like I'm really skipping over a lot of news because, as you know, blah, 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 conspiracies are news now. On the conspiracy subreddit, there was a discussion of what are conspiracies around waking up at 3 a.m. And we had a listener mention that they've been waking up at 3 a.m. lately. One comment that was quite highly outvoted when I first looked. It's gone down a little bit. But apparently Jesus died on the cross at 3 p.m. So 3 a.m. is the antithesis. And that's like some reason you wake up by a demon or something. I think that might be a joke comment, though, now that I've read it. Anyway, in these discussions, people always point out that once upon a time, humans used to get up in the middle of the night for a little snack.
Right.
And they would like sleep for a few hours because like there was no light bulbs and TV. I don't even think they had mobile phones then either. So like they'd go to sleep really early and then you'd wake up for a little bit of night and everyone would kind of hang out and have a little snack, a little, what do you call that? Little breakfast.
Yeah.
And then you go back to sleep for a little bit, which I really like.
Yeah.
I would really be into that.
I did a sign writing course a couple of years ago, right, with this old bloke called Mike Myers, funnily enough, who's a sign writer from the US, really famous hand painted sign writer, and I was awake. I was awake the night before the actual thing, and in the middle of the night, at like 3 or 4 in the morning, and I had a random question about the workshop and something that I might have needed to bring with me. So I thought, well, I'll just send that guy a DM on Instagram, just, so he might see it in the morning before I go. And he replied at like 3:34 in the morning. And I was like, oh, okay. So at the end of the day, the next day, I said to him, oh, thanks for, replying to my message last night. And I wasn't expecting, to get a reply in the middle of the night. And he said to me, he goes, you know what I like to do? He's like, I like to wake up at about 3 in the morning and get up, and I make a cup of tea and I have a little cup of tea. And he goes, and then I get to go back to bed again. It's awesome. So he gets like a little second bedtime. Gets to snuggle down again in his blankets. When you go to bed, it's nice. You get in, you're like, oh yeah, nice and warm, nice and snuggly.
Yeah.
Do that. Get up in the middle of the night, have a little, like you said, a little snack. Second bedtime.
You sure he wasn't up just murdering teenagers?
I mean, you never know.
Yeah.
Or like doing his cable access TV show from Aurora, Illinois.
One of the two.
Yeah.
I sometimes fall asleep at like 11:30 as I'm reading, and then wake up like half an hour later and just be wide awake and just start reading again.
Yep.
But never for a little snack.
Hey, Robo, great story.
Oh, I'm sorry, man. We're just sharing anecdotes here. Sorry, that was inconveniencing you.
I feel like Cam had nothing to add to that. No little middle of the night story. So he was like, fuck this. I'm just burning Robbo right now.
Hey, Cam, what do you tell us about finding ghosts at this dumb old primary school? You stupid little kid. All right. In more news.
What are you doing at 3 in the morning, Cam? Just sleep?
Just having a snooze.
No fun sleep stories. At the moment, there's a bit of hullabaloo about a moose in New Zealand.
Oh,
what's this moose doing? Has it been captured or is it somehow at large?
So there is a photo from 1952 of what looks like a moose.
Right.
But, maybe. Could be. And then an American was in Fiordland recently. I think they're doing the Kepler Track, which is, I think, a great walk here in New Zealand. The person walked out and saw a moose, and they're like, that's a bloody moose. And they're Americans, so they've seen lots of moose before. So now moose fever has taken hold in Fiordland.
Oh, yeah.
They did an Alone series down in that part of the world, more kind of isolated. You know how in Alone they have to like dodge bears and wolves in Canada normally? And this one they just got eaten alive by sandflies. And at first they're like, it's going to be fine. And then they're like, this is awful. I'm getting infections. I might die from sandflies. Any comments about that story, Cam? Any zingers there?
No, great story.
No?
Sorry
Good.
to hear about the sandflies, mate.
Yeah, good one. That's all the news I've got. If you want more conspiracy news, just bloody turn on the 6 o'clock news. Find out what old Musk is up to.
Well, thanks to Tammy and Alice.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Where
Where can we be found online?
Oh, I guess, yeah, let's... I'll get the Blue Sky up and running again.
I don't want to say whether you can find you personally.
I don't post enough.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
I do not want people to find me.
Yeah, right.
Salty, you should find... People want to find
Oh, yeah. Where can they find you? You've got...
No, I'm not going to fucking single myself out. Fuck it. Fuck them. They can find me if they want to find me. Don't leave that in.
Right. Let's get hostile towards everyone.
Don't leave that in.
No, that's all staying in. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Don't worry about a thing, except if all our world leaders are alien reptilians. I said don't worry about a thing, except maybe the fluoride in our water supply contains mind-altering drugs. Don't worry about a thing, except whether or not Port Arthur was a false flag operation in which to disarm Australia. I said don't worry about a thing. I accept you can definitely hear John Lennon say I buried Paul at the end of Strawberry Fields Forever. Ooh, don't worry about a thing, except not only did Bush do 9/11, but he also keeps the planes out in Area 51, which, let's not forget where all of the aliens are. Don't worry about a thing, except Donald Trump is clearly a woman, and you're just blind if you can't see that.